Code of honor, number 9, manage up and manage out. This concept is so helpful in seeing massive results in all areas and growing personally and professionally. And what manage up and manage out is it's communicating to all the people around us what needs to be communicated to them in the right way, right order, right time, and then also communicating what the next step is and what the results of the last step was. For example, if we're struggling in school, we need to manage up and out to, our teacher, to, our parents, to, others that may be influential in our lives. We need to communicate to them that we're struggling. That's manage up and manage out to other people. Part of managing up and out is communicating what we think we ought to do as well. Not know, but what do we think we need to do? And so my kids come and say, Dad, I'm struggling in this area. And my first response will be, maybe some compassion. Hey, I'm sorry to hear that. What is it that you think you ought to do? If they respond, I don't know, Dad, my response, try it gentle. Say, sorry, didn't ask you what you knew, ask you what you thought. What do you think you ought to do? And so it's helping them to think. And they say, well, I think I ought to do this and this and this. And so we need to grow that muscle of thinking. Then I can share my thoughts with them. And so in managing up, they manage up what's going on in their lives, and then I'm able to connect and know about that. And so as we mature, we understand that manage up, communicating is a very important thing. And the more we communicate, by and large, with our parents, with those in leadership, the team members around us, our spouses, our loved ones, the more connected we'll be, and the more that they'll understand what's going on in our life. And so what we should do, and so whether it's with my kids or whether it's with an employee or whether it's with a partner, they come back and they say, Mark, I think, or Dad, I think this is my situation. So they're communicating. This is what I think I ought to do. When they do that, I may ask them, I say, that's interesting. What factors did you consider in coming to that conclusion? Now, I may have considered 5 factors in that coming to that conclusion. They may have considered 3 factors. If they've considered all of the factors that I have considered, then I will give them more leeway if they came up with a different conclusion. Now, this may seem like really stratospheric type of things, like, wow, this is really complicated. It's actually not. Actually, a 5 or 6-year-old can understand conceptually. You come up with a decision, what factors went into that decision? So, having a cookie, there's certain factors that go into the cookie. One is, I'm hungry, okay? That's a factor, okay? Another factor is, well, it's close to meal times. That's another factor. Another factor is, what is mom's, dad's, policy on this? What is it? What do they do? So there's different factors, and so helping us to learn the different factors. And so remember when my kids were in their early teens, they said, Dad, can I go over to this person's house? And they got tired of me asking all the questions. So I said, I tell you what, why don't we make your life easier, my life easier, and why don't you guys type up all the different factors for consideration, and then you go through all of those factors, and then you make the decision. I'll just review over it, but you make that decision. Well, they started listing down all the factors, and I said, well, those are good 5 factors, but here are another 15 factors that Dad needs to consider in having you go over to friends. They're like, Dad, that's a lot of work. No kidding. That's what I've got to go through. And so if somebody considers all the factors that I've considered, but they come up with a different conclusion than I've come up with, the reason they've come up with that different conclusion is because they've put a different weight on each one of those factors. So, going over to a friend's house, a factor on that is going to be how much fun I'm going to have over there. So that's going to be probably a big weighting for my kids. But not so much for me. I mean, it's a factor, but not a big weighting. Their safety, they may have considered that, but it's not a big factor for them. But it's a huge factor for me. And so if they've considered all the factors, but they've come up with a different conclusion, I will tend to give them more freedom to say, Dad would come up with this decision, but you considered all the factors, and so I'm a little concerned, but, you get to make a decision. Now, if they haven't considered all the factors, they can still come up with the right conclusion, which may be my conclusion or may not be, but it's only a matter of time before they make a mistake. Same thing is true as an employer or an employee. So manage up and manage out, communicating is really complex, but it's very, very powerful. It will help you in school. It will help you with your friends. It will help you with your parents. It will help you in college. It will help you when you get into your career. It will help you as you become a parent with children of your own. It will help you in retirement. It will help you in all aspects. Extremely powerful principle through Life Masteries Institute and the Code of Honor. Are you asking about that one, about the adult principle? Well, listen to one more, because it's on that one that you're going to find some really interesting insight that was given to me by my amazing 15-year-old daughter.